there are lined along the walls thousands of skeletons, some with bits of clothing hanging off of them. It's a whole network of tunnels, really. There's about a mile of it that's open to visitors, and you can see some of these places.
Deep underground, scientists made a discovery that left even the experts speechless. What they found inside a dark tunnel was beyond anything anyone expected. Strange noises, mysterious objects, and eerie shadows all played a part in this shocking reveal. This isn't just any tunnel. It's a place full of secrets that few dare to explore.
And there's another passage that goes for about 15 meters.
Get ready to dive into the unknown and see the 20 most unbelievable moments caught in these dark passages. Number 20. Gough's Cave Findings. Now, I've already shown you one body being found in a tunnel, but at Gough's Cave there have been some more straight-to-the-point horrifying findings there. But how so? Well, there have been many bones found in that cave, which might not be scary on its own, but when researchers looked further, that's when they realized that these bones were there because of cannibalism. That's right, the people that lived in that cave long ago even ate their own kind, and they didn't stop once the flesh was gone. Oh no, they went ahead and took the skulls and made cups out of them. That's right, they literally drank out of the heads of the deceased. It is kind of scary to think about what people did once upon a time and the lengths that they would go to in order to satisfy themselves. Now it's time for the odd topic. In 2018, deep in a muddy tunnel near Redstone Pass, Utah, scientists discovered something massive. It looked like a giant, spider-like ancient anchor, twisted, smooth, and buried for ages. No one could explain how it got there or what it was made of. It wasn't metal, and it wasn't stone either. The mystery remains unsolved. Do you think it's from Earth or something else? Drop your thoughts in the comments below with the hashtag #OddTopic. Number 19. Cave Dwellers. Now, I touched upon it earlier that there are people in the world today who do willingly go and live inside of tunnels, and there are some in China right now who not only do it, but they make homes out of those tunnels at the same time. These so-called cave dwellers, as they are known, are not exactly there by choice though. They are there for both traditional and historical reasons, not to mention personal ones. Regardless, they have to work hard to make life work in this place. And that means constantly working to get their food and retrieving water from the nearby well and more. While this place in China is just one example, there are numerous places all over the world that have people who live like this, both by choice and by force. Number 18. The Crystal Cave of Giants. No, there are not giants in this cave. However, there are giant crystals in this cave, and it's something that blows people's minds no matter how many times they look at them. You will find this cave itself in Mexico, and the chamber that's hundreds of meters below the surface contains giant selenite crystals. In fact, they are said to be some of the biggest crystals in the world, if not the biggest. One of the ironies of this place is that while we do know about it and want to study it more, it is so hot in its confines that you have to be really careful and have the proper equipment, or else you could actually die in there. And that, if it is not obvious, would be a very scary thing to endure. Number 17. Drug tunnels. If you watch the news enough, you're going to know that this next entry should be no surprise. When it comes to the drug trade, they will do just about anything and everything they can to try and get their product into the United States or other countries. And for those who are in Mexico, such as the cartels, they are not afraid to dig like their lives depend on it in order to smuggle their product across the border and ensure that they don't get caught by the authorities. Some of the tunnels that have been discovered connecting the US to places like Tijuana, Mexico, are hundreds of meters long, and they don't get found until well after they've been used by the drug cartels and the dealers and then abandoned. Number 16. Liverpool's mysterious Williamson tunnels. Now, as you have seen before, there are all kinds of reasons to build a tunnel, but in the case of Liverpool's mysterious Williamson tunnels, nobody really knows why they were built at all. The tunnels were ordered by Joseph Williamson, who was a rather rich man during his day. He had bought a stretch of land in Liverpool and then began building homes on top of it. And then he also started digging underneath the ground in every direction. But nobody truly knows why he did this, and people are still digging up those tunnels to try and figure out the truth. In fact, the tunnels are so mysterious to this day that they were used in a recent season of Doctor Who. In that version, the tunnels were actually able to travel through time and space through special doorways. Number 15. Ant colonies. Going back to regular creatures for a moment, ant colonies are the definition of animals making their own homes so that they can do whatever they need to. Ant colonies are truly just tunnels that ants dig to connect various parts of their homes so that everyone can get around and move around and carry things to where they need to go. In Brazil, there was even an ant colony that was found that was said to have been so huge it could have housed millions of ants inside of it. Ants are honestly one of the best builders on the planet, and everyone could probably learn a thing or two about how to make things and actually how to make them last. Number 14. The Paris Catacombs. This is one of those all-time classic tunnels that people willingly go to so that they can be scared out of their minds. The Paris Catacombs were built because the city was having a cemetery problem. Specifically, they ran out of places to put bodies, and it was getting really bad. And so they decided to take the bodies of the dead, strip them down to their bones, and then bury them underground. You know, because they had all that room down there. Fast forward to now, and the Paris Catacombs feature over 6 million people in their tunnels. To be clear, not all of those tunnels are accessible to the public, but you can actually go down there and tour around some of them. However, there are people who will go and illegally visit the place, and some very weird things have been found in the catacombs as a result. Number 13. Ancient artifacts. This one is scary in the how many things were found in there kind of way. You see, there's a certain Mexican city that's a favorite for archaeologists because there always seems to be something new found there all the time, and the year 2014 was no different for this. They were doing some excavating at one of the sacred sites in the city, and they soon found themselves looking at an ancient tunnel. To ensure they didn't cause any kind of damage to the area, they then used robots to dig things out, only going in themselves when they knew that things were safe. As they did, they soon found tons of artifacts, and I do mean that in the literal sense. There were 50,000 artifacts that were found in this tunnel. Archaeologists are lucky if they even find a few dozen bones and fragments, let alone tens of thousands of items. The belief is that these tunnels led to the royal tombs, and hence all of these items were scattered about. Number 12. Pyramid Tunnel. Now let's head to the Great Pyramids of Egypt, specifically the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which has been the focus of many studies over the years. The pyramids as a whole stand out as a testament to the great engineering ability of the ancient Egyptians, but it's also quite the scary construction, because we still don't know how they fully made these pyramids, and they built them to last like they did.
Okay.
In 2016, the mystery only grew greater when it was discovered that a tunnel was inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. It took many years after that to have equipment to be able to go in and scan that tunnel, but people did get a look inside. So, what was the tunnel used for? Well, nobody has any idea, and if there's a tunnel like this one in one of the pyramids, why is it not in any of the others? Number 11. A headless torso. Now we're going to get into something just a little bit more freaky. Imagine you're going through a cave tunnel and you suddenly come across a body, except it's only part of a body. It's just the torso of that body, and it doesn't have a head. It may sound like something from a horror movie, but it actually did happen in Idaho about 40 years ago. As you can imagine, people were just a little bit puzzled about the finding, and they were also concerned about what it could actually mean. You know, they had to try and find a way to identify the body. Ironically, that took several decades, and it was only because of DNA testing that they were able to discover that the man was an escaped prisoner who had killed his own wife. While the family of the man, via his descendants, were told of his fate, the mystery was not solved about who had actually killed him. Number 10. Mongolian tunnels. In the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region of China, an ancient city that was thousands of years old was unearthed and studied. And while the stone city itself is an incredible finding, so too were the tunnels that were in it. They were potentially made around 4,500 years ago. The city's history and significance have been confirmed through meticulous research, making it the highest-ranked, largest in scale, and most tightly defended early Longshan period stone city that was ever discovered in Inner Mongolia to date. The reason that we know it was a heavily protected city is because the place had numerous defense systems to try and keep things out, as in they had high walls and other defenses at the ready. But after 5 years of digging, they then found the tunnel system, and that heavily implies that this was also part of a defense network and possibly something that people had used in order to get out of the line of fire when the city was then attacked. This highlights many things about the city and what the ancient people had strove for when they built it. They wanted to ensure that no one could take it and that the people inside would be able to protect it. Number 9. Hobbits. This story comes from 2003, where a team of archaeologists working in a cave in Indonesia found some sets of human remains that were kind of curious at best. They could tell by the bones that they had discovered that they were from an adult Homo sapien, but the problem was they were short, as in they were barely over a meter tall, and thus they were dubbed the Hobbits, because they were short and not as tall as regular people. Anyways, this discovery got the scientific community all up in arms, and it's not hard to see why. Were these actual real-life hobbits? Honestly, they may have been, and the reason for the short height was first contributed to a disease, but some then stated that it looked to be more of a natural peak for them. They were given a scientific name and everything. So then, why are there not more hobbits around? Well, not unlike other humanoids that are not Homo sapiens, it's believed that they died out due to not being able to handle the dangers of the world. Survival of the fittest and all of that, Number 8. More sewer creatures. This tale apparently comes from an urban explorer who had dove into a tunnel and started going around to see what was inside. So as you can imagine, they soon stumbled across a pair of creatures looking at it from down at the end of the tunnel. That's right, there were 2 sewer creatures this time, and not only one. Oh, the horror! Yes, there are plenty of telltale signs that this was altered to look like it does. Not the least of which is that if you saw creatures like that inside of a tunnel, are you really going to keep on exploring instead of running for your life? I mean, after all, there are 2 of them, and they easily outnumber you. Number 7. Snake tunnels. This is more of a public safety announcement, as it's sometimes difficult to tell what's a hole or a tunnel or something in between, especially when it comes to animals. Snakes are one of the many creatures that are not afraid to get dirty and make a little home for themselves. In fact, they often dig holes into the ground to not only protect themselves from potential predators, but also to keep themselves cool when the weather gets to be too much. But while that is a nice and relatable thing, it also means that there could be a snake hole or tunnel in your backyard or front yard, and you may not even know it. That's a problem when you're trying to relax and you don't want a snake coming up next to you. Now, typically, these holes are circular in shape and they do vary in size. Similar to the round holes in yards that are caused by moles, snake holes are commonly found embedded in the grass, but they can also be found in other places as well. And so, if you find yourself wondering if you have a serpent problem, just do the smart thing and ask an expert. Number 6. Secret German tunnels. As I've already shown you, tunnel making is something that has been around for quite a millennia, including Mother Nature getting in on the action to ensure that tunnels get made. Fast forward to the modern times and all kinds of nations have had reasons to make tunnels, which include a certain party of Germany back in World War II. You see, when they controlled much of Europe, they also ensured that they had plenty of places to go and take shelter should things really get bad. That included in a vacation retreat that the party had in Bavaria. This multi-room subterranean compound is composed of an apartment and a set of underground chambers for fellow Inner Circle members, and it was quite a truly impressive and large complex. At first, it is fair to say that these tunnels were meant to be in case an attack happened while the party were relaxing in the vacation town. But as time went on in World War II, it was seen as a last hiding place for the Germans. And you may be curious as to what it was called. Well, it's a German word that I can't pronounce, and I've told the scriptwriter several times not to do stuff like this to me. As in, the place that you couldn't enter unless you were a true member of the party, and the infamous Eagle's Nest was there as well. A true home away from home for a certain leader, that is until the Allies came in and won the war. Number 5. Sewer Creature. Now, I should have been a bit more specific at the end of the last entry. I should have told you that you shouldn't try to explore a tunnel just to chase anything that isn't human or potentially from this world. I mean, that should cover all the bases, right? If you have a look at this video, it appears that people are going down a sewer tunnel and they just happen to stumble upon a creature in the distance that is definitely not human nor animal that you can recognize. As you could imagine, people went absolutely nuts when they saw the video, and they started to wonder exactly what this was that they were seeing. However, there are two things of note here. First, and arguably the most important one, is that you can tell the video footage has been edited. Just look at the motion of the camera from when things start progressing to when that monster appears, and you may notice how the camera goes from a natural motion to being completely still. That's a telltale sign of it being edited. They literally stopped the footage in place so that they could create a monster for people to look at. Oh, and the second reason is that it was actually a hoax, and I'm not just saying that either. The people behind the video, United Utilities, were using the video as a way of reminding people to be careful about what they flush down into the sewers because it could come back to haunt you. Then again, there are all kinds of companies that use these kind of tactics with so-called found footage and things caught on camera, all as a marketing ploy. Number 4. A ghost. Now, I tried to avoid it earlier with all of the alien talk, but it seems as though we're not going to get away from the supernatural element that people just love to throw into things like this. So then, what am I talking about this time? Well, apparently in Japan, some people were checking out one of the old World War II tunnels that filled the nation for radiation leaks, and that's when they say that they apparently saw a ghost. I mean, can you hear the enthusiasm in my voice when I talk about this? Oh no? Well, maybe because I know that it's not real. Now, don't get me wrong, the tunnels in Japan are actually real, and the one that was apparently went about 500 meters below the surface. That's quite a deep tunnel indeed. But when you look at how that supposed ghost was caught on video, you can see that things are a bit too perfect for it to be a random thing found in a tunnel. You know, like how the camera starts to malfunction right as the ghost appears, or how it went and started talking to the men in the tunnel by beckoning them closer, and so on and so forth. Yes, it is totally fake, and that's why you have to be careful about what you say that you saw on the internet. There are some people who would truly believe that tunnels like that are the perfect places to find a ghost, and they'll go and risk putting themselves in danger just to try and prove it. These tunnels can be dangerous for non-supernatural reasons, so don't do anything reckless just to try and chase a ghost story, alright? Number 3. San Francisco tunnels. In many places, especially those like big cities, where there are plenty of people, legends of tunnels grow because of the mysteries that lie within them. Who made the tunnels? What's inside of them? And why do they go for as long as they do? And so on and so forth, the people ask questions. It leads people to wanting to explore them simply out of curiosity. And to that end, the San Francisco tunnels are ones that many people have found to be scary over the years, simply because they know that they exist, but they don't always know or understand what exists in them. What helped grow that particular legend was photographer Sierra Hartman. He was a young man when he lived in Northern California, and he was always entranced by those tunnels that were there. Arriving in San Francisco later on in life, he then began exploring the city streets at night with his camera, and one of those nights, a chance encounter with a manhole that was left open would lead him to going beneath the San Francisco streets for the very first time. And that sparked an adult passion for urban exploration. As he went and dove into the various tunnels that he found entranceways to, he took pictures of the deep and dark areas to help shine a light on them and give people an insight as to what was truly there. The other scary thing about this San Francisco tunnel system is that it's something many people go into often because they need to know that it's working. That's right, the tunnels don't simply exist for fun or pleasure or even urban exploration. They actually exist to ensure that the nearly 1 million people that live in San Francisco are not having their waste or other things all bunged up. Because if those tunnels don't let things go through properly, then something really scary may end up happening through the drains. Number 2. Saxon Palace Tunnel. One of the reasons that finding something special in a tunnel is so intriguing to people is the simple concept of what does it mean? What does it mean that we found this thing here at this particular moment in time? For example, in Warsaw, the capital of Poland, work was being done on the Saxon Palace that used to be in the city. However, as they were doing some digging, they found a tunnel that went deep into the earth. Specifically, it was about 4 meters down, and it's said to have gone even deeper. This particular find was shocking to those who knew about the palace for a simple reason. That tunnel was not on any layout of the place that they had ever seen. That meant that the tunnel was made and then concealed so that nobody knew about it except for those who had likely ordered its creation. It's pretty sneaky stuff. After doing some more digging, it was found out that the palace, which was destroyed in the Second World War, was actually the headquarters of the Polish army. They had used the tunnel to help deliver messages both in the building and outside of it. The tunnel was apparently built in the 1930s specifically for military intelligence. It's about 45 meters long, and the bricks for the construction of the tunnel were supplied by a brickyard, as evidenced by the branding marks on the bricks themselves. So not only was the tunnel there, it was there with a purpose. And in this case, the scary element was that a key part of that structure was almost lost to history because of the acts that were done in World War II. Hopefully it will be preserved so that others will be able to know about the brave things that were done there. Number 1. Ice Age Cavern. Now, at first, you may not think that there's anything truly scary to be discovered in a tunnel, given that people or animals are typically the ones who have to make those tunnels, so there's nothing to find except for dirt and rocks. But the thing about planet Earth is that what we see as the surface is only one layer of dirt and rock that was formed there over time. When you peel back the layers, you're looking into years of history that have helped to form what you're standing on now. Which means that if you dig deep enough, you may just find yourself going back to the Ice Age. And I'm not joking. In 2017, below Montreal in Canada, a cavern was connected to Montreal's St. Leonard Cavern. For the longest time, people did know there was some kind of tourable area there where they could go underground and see some kind of great underground caverns.
And there's another passage that goes for about 15 meters.
However, as they were going through a limestone wall at one point, they opened up this entirely new place. According to those who had studied it, the cavern dates back about 15,000 years ago. When they first found the new cavern, they could only go about 200 meters because they soon hit an aquifer. And so they had to go on a canoe to go even further, and back then they didn't even know where this cavern ended. It's not the biggest cavern, and only a few people could go in the tunnel at one time, but it did have all the markings of something made by nature a long time ago. And one of the two men who discovered it noted that this was a huge discovery, and it's not really hard to see why. Anything from the Ice Age period is valuable in the historical sense, but it also goes even further if there are things in that tunnel that could point to things in history that we don't know about yet. What's so scary is that this tunnel has been right under people's noses for quite a long time, and it was actually an accident that it was discovered. Well, that's all from the realm of tunnels and the various scary things that have been seen in them over the years. Were you stunned by some of the things that were found in these tunnels? And which item did you think was the scariest of the bunch? Perhaps you know of another scary finding in a tunnel that I haven't talked about on this list. Go on and let me know all about it in the comments section down below. Check out the other cool things that are showing up on the screen, and I will see you next time.